So this is how I color grade with Dehancer. They reached out to me and gave me a license to make a review. Well, this is a before image. This is after with Dehancer using one node, like literally few nodes. They told me to make a review, so here is the review. Alright, so this will be a tutorial on how I color grade with Dehancer. I balanced my image first a little bit, so I kind of brought everything down. It looks dark, but that's before we applied Dehancer. In the node that you want to put Dehancer in, you want to go to your effects. Once you have it installed, you just want to drag this over. We got to choose our camera input and color space that we shot the clip in. For my case, I used the A7 IV by Sony, so I'm going to choose that here, A7 IV, and I shot this in S-Log3. That's it. Now the image looks overexposed, so what we're going to do is I'm just going to rebalance. I'm actually going to like bump this just a little bit. I'm going to just change that a little bit. Now back into the Dehancer node, what I'm going to do is, you see we have a film stock applied, right? I'm going to worry about that later. So now this is what our image looks like with just the conversion, right? Everything else should be turned off. This is before, this is after, this is Rec 709. So now I'm going to actually skip the film profile for now, and what I'm going to go straight to is I'm going to go to the print. I'm going to choose 2383, and now we have something that starts to look good. I'm going to up the color density to like 100. I'm going to up the contrast to like maybe like 3 or 4, probably 4. Actually, I'm going to bring that down to like maybe 2.5. I'm also going to make the target white all the way to the left, and I'm going to like change the exposure to like maybe just a little bit down. That looks pretty good. So this is before the print and this is after. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go back into the film, and now this is where stuff gets fun. So now we can choose a film stock, and there's a lot. My absolute favorite, Kodak Vision 500T. I don't know why, but I'm like super addicted to the colors of this. I love the way this looks, so I'm gonna apply that. I'm gonna bring this to the left. Bring this to sort of like the left. Something like that. Also gonna bump the temperature to maybe like 20. I do want a pretty warm image, and I'm also gonna increase the tint as well to maybe like 10. Go to balance, change the temperature, something like that looks pretty good. So now I'm gonna go into the film developer, bump this a little bit. It's like 4, gamma correction. I'm gonna increase color boost to like 30. Film compression is something unique. So what film compression does is, like, if you look at the highlights, you can see it's not really a nice roll off, right? But if you turn film compression on, you can see the highlight roll off is much better. Like, just pay attention to this right here, right? This is with film compression. This is without film compression. So you can see it adds a nice roll off to the highlights. I pretty much keep this to mostly default settings. I would maybe increase the color density and the white point depending on the image. So like something like this maybe. Now for the expand node, this is where we're going to choose our black and white point. I like to always increase mine by like no higher than 4. So like maybe like 4.5, maybe like 4.50. And I also like to bring this down to 90 or 95. Either way, either one looks pretty good. But yeah, and now we're gonna go into the color head. I'm gonna enable this, and I'm also gonna bring the Cyan to the right. Think of this as like the primary wheels in DaVinci itself, but this is just in like a slider format. And also change the shadow zone. I haven't really played with this. Oh, okay, yeah, something like this actually. That looks pretty good. I'm gonna disable film grain, and that's pretty much it for this image. Also, I'm also gonna change this to high quality and slow. Here's our image after. Here's the before. Here's the after. I made a second node after the Dehancer node. It's like where I have my bloom settings, right? And I pretty much used default settings. You can see this is without the bloom. This is with the bloom. I chose this one, and I brought the amplify down to like 40 just so it won't be as intense. But actually, this looks pretty good. Default settings. You can go in and customize this, but I don't really do it. Also, I want to add in the bloom node, I also have the halation enabled as well. So this is without halation, this is with halation. It's pretty much also default settings. I chose this. I don't like the one with the no ramjet because it's just a little bit too much for my taste. So yeah, I also want to preference that the lower this number is, the more prominent the halation will be. So if you want just clean halation, then you would choose 65 or 70 millimeter. Same for the bloom. The lower the number, the more prominent the bloom would be. Now for the grain node, it's pretty much the same thing. I have this pretty much at default settings, but what I chose for this was, I think I chose 65. I chose one of the 65 millimeter grain options, and I changed the settings here. You can copy these if you want. I changed the chroma all the way to 0 because like when you have chroma in the grain right here, it kind of like adds color, like it kind of makes it like look noisy, like camera noise, and not grain. So I just kind of like bumped that all the way down. One of my favorite things about Dehancer is how it processes grain. Like it actually processes grain, and it's not like an overlay. But when you do apply the grain, your computer will get cooked. It actually takes GPU power. When you're editing, normally just turn off the grain and your performance should be good. You can also change where the grain shows in the image, so you can show if you want it more prominent in the shadows, you can change it in the midtones. So if you had skin tones, for example, you can make the grain less prominent in the skin tones. That's pretty much it for this node. Alright, so now that's pretty much the image, but I do want to go over some extra effects that I have. This is a warm node. This is with it off. This is with it on. For now I'm gonna leave this off. This is, if you have my power grade, then you know what that does. And same thing for density. I'm gonna keep this on. And that's pretty much how I color grade with Dehancer. This is the before image. This is the after image. One thing I wish that would change though is when you choose a film profile in the Photoshop and Lightroom version of this plugin, there's like images you just like preview images to see how your image would look. I feel like if they added this to the video plugins, it would also save a lot much more time than having to like manually click through each single one. And I mean, that's pretty much it. I love this plugin. I'm actually gonna keep using this plugin as well. And I've used this plugin on my previous videos. In my Miami video, I used this plugin. Like I actually like bought the plugin for a month just to color grade the Miami video, and I was satisfied with the results, really. So would I recommend this? It is kind of pricey, but it is also a professional tool. That being said, it helped me get better colors, that's for sure. And I'm gonna be using this like for now on. If you're actually doing commercial projects or professional projects with it, 100% worth it. I mean, like this look is like we got the whole look in like one node, bro. So if you're doing this professionally, I think the plugin is worth it. One thing I wish they would change is these drop down menus were closed by default, so you could go through them one by one. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's pretty much my review. I enjoy the plugin. I think it's worth it. I've actually bought it before and I was satisfied. So it was pretty cool that Dehancer had reached out to me to review the plugin. This is completely unbiased, by the way, because there are alternatives that are much cheaper, but I'm gonna be using this for now on just because of its ease of use.